You're listening to Audiology. Support our work on Patreon and be sure to submit your requests for topics in the comments below. The Battle of Belleau Wood, which took place from June 1st to June 26th in 1918, was a significant conflict that unfolded during Germany's large-scale offensives in the spring of the First World War. This clash occurred near France's Marne River. American forces, particularly the 2nd Division led by Major General Omar Bundy, and the 3rd Division, fought alongside French and British troops against various German troops, which included parts of the 237th, 10th, 197th, 87th, and 28th Divisions. The confrontation at Belleau Wood has since become an iconic part of the history and tradition of the United States Marine Corps. Background. In early 1918, as a result of the Russian exit from World War I, Germany redirected its forces and initiated multiple offensives on the Western Front, aiming to overwhelm the Allied powers before the American troops could substantially reinforce them. In May, during the Third Battle of the Aisne, German forces managed to advance to the Marne River's north bank at Château-Thierry, alarmingly close to Paris, at a distance of only 95 kilometers. Their onslaught was momentarily held off on May 31st by the American 7th Machine Gun Battalion, working alongside French colonial troops from Senegal, amidst fierce urban combat at Château-Thierry. The Germans then shifted their push towards Vaux and Belleau Wood. Despite the losses on June 1st, when Château-Thierry and Vaux were captured by Germany and their troops entered Belleau Wood, American forces maintained their defense. The U.S. 2nd Infantry Division, which included a brigade of Marines, was promptly arranged along the key Paris-Metz route. The 9th Infantry Regiment took up positions between this road and the Marne River, and the 6th Marines were to their left. Meanwhile, the 5th Marines and the 23rd Infantry were kept in reserve, ready to act when needed. Battle. On the night of June 1st, German troops broke through the French defenses near where American Marines were positioned. Reacting quickly, American reinforcements that included the 23rd Infantry Regiment, led by Colonel Paul B. Malone, the 1st Battalion of the 5th Marines, commanded by Major Julius S. Turrell, and a unit from the Marine 6th Machine Gun Battalion covered a distance of over 10 kilometers, or approximately 6.2 miles, in a rapid march to close the breach in the front. They managed to secure the gap by the time the sun came up. By the evening of June 2nd, the American troops had established control over a front that stretched roughly 20 kilometers or 12 miles to the north of the Paris-Metz highway. This area comprised grain fields and patches of forest, extending from Triangle Farm in the west, through Lucy, and up to Hill 142. The German front line facing them extended from Vaux through Boresh to Belleau. German advance halted at Belleau Wood. During a significant German offensive, their forces were instructed to move towards Marigny and Lucy by way of Belleau Wood, while other units aimed to cross the Marne River. The leader of the U.S. Marine Brigade, Army General James Harbord, defied a French command to establish defensive positions further back, instead directing his Marines to stand their ground. The Marines prepared their defenses by creating shallow trenches that allowed them to aim and fire while lying down. On June 3rd, in the afternoon, German soldiers charged the Marine lines across open fields with their bayonets at the ready. The Marines held fire until the enemy was within 100 yards, then unleashed efficient rifle shots, decimating the German ranks and causing the remaining attackers to fall back to the shelter of the woods. The Germans then fortified themselves along a new line, spanning from Hill 204 near Vaux to Le Tiolet on the highway to Paris, extending northward past Belleau Wood towards Torcy, after having suffered substantial losses. Despite suggestions by retreating French soldiers to pull back, Marine Captain Lloyd W. Williams, serving in the 2nd Battalion 5th Marines, allegedly issued his iconic rebuttal, "Retreat, hell, we just got here." Yet, Major Frederick Wise from Williams' unit later claimed he was the source of these well-known words. On June 4th, Major General Bundy of the 2nd Division assumed control over the American sector of the front line. In the following 2 days, Bundy's forces, particularly the Marines, managed to ward off relentless German offensives. With the arrival of the 167th French Division, Bundy had the opportunity to reinforce his stretch of the front, extending to 2,000 yards. While Bundy's own 3rd Brigade secured the southern portion, the Marine Brigade was positioned to the north, from the Triangle Farm area onwards. Attack on Hill 142. In the early hours of June 6th, Allied forces initiated an offensive against the German troops, who were gearing up for their own assault. The French 167th Division launched an attack near the American position, and concurrently, the Marines set out to take Hill 142 to prevent the French from being subjected to German enfilading fire. The overarching mission for the 2nd Division was to seize control of the ridge line that looked over Torcy and Belleau Wood, as well as to take possession of Belleau Wood itself. Nevertheless, due to a lack of reconnaissance in Belleau Wood, the Marines overlooked a concealed German infantry regiment equipped with machine guns and artillery. At the break of dawn, the 1st Battalion, 5th Marines, led by Major Julius S. Turrell, had been assigned to capture Hill 142. However, only 2 of their companies were ready to commence the assault. The Marines, with bayonets at the ready, marched through a wheat field under an onslaught of German machine gun and artillery bombardment, resulting in severe casualties. Captain Crowther of the 67th Company was struck down almost instantaneously. Meanwhile, Captain Hamilton and the 49th Company moved from one wooded area to the next, battling entrenched German soldiers and surging just beyond their targeted objective. Sadly, Hamilton was left standing without any of his junior officers, and the 67th Company was down to a single surviving commissioned officer. Hamilton reorganized the scattered companies, fortified defensive positions, and established strong points. Throughout the German counteroffensive, Gunnery Sergeant Ernest A. Jansen, who was enlisted as Charles Hoffman, demonstrated extraordinary bravery by single-handedly stopping a group of 12 German troops, killing 2 with his bayonet before the rest retreated. This valiant action earned him the distinction of being the first Marine awarded the Medal of Honor during World War I. Similarly, Marine gunner Henry Hulbert was recognized for his courage in advancing through enemy fire with the award of the Distinguished Service Cross. As the remainder of the battalion joined the fray, Major Turrell found his flanks exposed and his men rapidly depleting their ammunition supply. Despite these setbacks, by the afternoon the Marines had successfully taken Hill 142, but this victory came at a steep price. The battalion suffered the loss of 9 officers and the majority of its original strength of 325 men. Marines attack Belleau Wood. During the evening on June 4th, Lieutenant William A. Eddy from the 6th Marines Intelligence, accompanied by 2 other individuals, stealthily penetrated German defenses to collect data on enemy activity. Their reconnaissance revealed that the Germans were reinforcing their machine gun placements and mobilizing artillery, suggesting an imminent attack on Paris wasn't likely. Yet their growing firepower was cause for concern due to the potential for a strong offensive. On the afternoon of June 6th at 5 p.m., the 3rd Battalion of the 5th Marines, led by Major Benjamin S. Berry, and their counterpart from the 6th Marines, led by Major Burton W. Sibley, initiated an assault from the west into Belleau Wood, a maneuver that constituted the 2nd stage of the Allied counterstrike. The Marines faced the daunting task of crossing a wheat field, standing waist-high directly into enemy machine gun barrages. During this offensive, 1st Sergeant Dan Daly, a highly decorated Marine with 2 Medals of Honor and experience across various international deployments, rallied his men of the 73rd Machine Gun Company with the now legendary call to action. "Come on, you sons of bitches. Do you want to live forever?" Tragically, the initial groups of Marines, marching in orderly lines, were decimated. Major Berry suffered an arm injury amidst the advance. Concurrently, the battalion under Major Sibley engaged vigorously with the enemy at the south edge of Belleau Wood, facing severe machine gun fire, sniper shots, and barbed wire obstructions, which led to ruthless close-quarters combat. The toll of the battle was grievous, resulting in the most substantial single-day loss the Marine Corps had experienced at the time, with casualties including 31 officers and 1,056 enlisted men. Despite the losses, the Marines managed to secure a precarious position within Belleau Wood. Fighting in Belleau Wood. The battle had reached a standstill. On the night of June 7-8, the Germans launched an assault that failed to make progress, and a subsequent American retaliatory strike on the morning of the 8th was equally thwarted. Sibley's battalion, which suffered close to 400 casualties, was replaced by the 1st Battalion of the 6th Marines. After Barry had been injured, Major Shearer assumed command of the 3rd Battalion of the 5th Marines. On June 9th, American and French forces unleashed a massive bombardment on Belleau Wood, which transformed the beautiful hunting ground into a labyrinth of broken trees. While the Germans responded with fire towards Lucy and Beretius and restructured their defensive positions in Belleau Wood, the landscape was heavily damaged. Early on June 10th, Major Hughes led the 1st Battalion of the 6th Marines, with support from the 6th Machine Gun Battalion, into the northern part of the forest. The advance, initially promising, was halted by machine gun fire. The 6th Machine Gun Battalion's leader, Major Cole, was fatally injured, and command was assumed by Captain Harlan Major. The Germans released a significant amount of mustard gas during these clashes. Following this, Wise's 2nd Battalion of the 5th Marines was instructed to launch an assault on the woods from the west, while Hughes pressed on from the south. On the morning of June 11th, as Wise's troops advanced through a dense fog toward Belleau Wood, with support from gun machine companies and engineer elements, they were decimated by intense gunfire. Entire platoons were wiped out, caught in crosshairs of machine gun attacks. It was later found that the battalion had strayed off course, heading straight across the wood instead of northeast. Despite this, they managed to break through the southern German defenses. A surviving German soldier reported that the 120-strong company was down to 30 men, facing opponents they described as incredibly bold. The Marines faced the daunting task of assaulting the woods 6 times before they could successfully drive out the Germans. During these brutal encounters, they had to rely on bayonets and even hand-to-hand combat as they faced elements from 5 German divisions. Finally, on June 26th, the 3rd Battalion of the 5th Marines, led by Major Shearer and backed by 2 machine gun companies, launched an offensive that succeeded in fully clearing Belleau Wood of German presence. On achieving this significant victory, Shearer reported succinctly that the woods were completely under the control of the U.S. Marine Corps. This marked the conclusion of what was one of the most intense and fierce battles that American forces engaged in during the war. Aftermath. During a military conflict, U.S. forces sustained 9,777 casualties, of which 1,811 were fatalities. A significant number of those who lost their lives are interred in the Aisne Marne American Cemetery situated nearby. Details regarding German fatalities remain vague, though records show that about 1,600 German soldiers were captured. Following the conflict, in recognition of the U.S. Marines' resolute fighting, the French renamed the battlefield Bois de la Brigade de Marine, which translates to Wood of the Marine Brigade. Additionally, the French bestowed the prestigious Croix de Guerre upon the 5th and 6th Marine Regiments and the 6th Machine Gun Battalion for their valiant efforts. German reports characterized the Marines as energetic, confident, and exceptionally skilled sharpshooters. General Pershing, who led the American Expeditionary Forces, coined the Marines as the most lethal military force globally when paired with their rifles. He also noted that the Battle of Belleau Wood represented the most significant engagement for the U.S. military since the Battle of Appomattox and was America's most substantial combat encounter with a foreign adversary to that date. There's a storied belief that the German forces referred to the Marines as Teufelshunde, translating to devil dogs. Though this term wasn't widely recognized in German at the time, a more accurate German expression would be Höllenhunde, meaning hellhounds. Regardless of the term's true origins, a decade after the battle, Lieutenant Colonel Ernst Otto, from the German Army's historical section acknowledged the Marines' spirited offensive and the great determination they were known for amongst their adversaries. Legacy. Members of the 5th and 6th Marine Regiments, who are currently in service, have the honor of wearing the French fourragère over their left shoulder as a tribute to the distinguished actions and heritage of their unit's forebears. In 1923, during the commemoration of the Belleau Wood anniversary, the Marine Band debuted a march entitled Belleau Wood by second leader Taylor Branson, who later directed the band from 1927 to 1940. He dedicated the piece to Major General James G. Harbord, the Army officer who had led Marines in the battle. The Belleau Wood site was officially designated as a battle monument in July of that same year, and Major General Harbord, by then an honorary Marine after his service in leading Marines in combat, attended and spoke at the event. His speech highlighted the site as a place of remembrance and inspiration for both veterans and citizens, a place to reaffirm dedication and resolve in difficult times. The final resting place of many who fought contains 2,289 marked graves, with 250 unidentified and a chapel wall bearing the names of 1,160 missing servicemen. In close proximity is a German war cemetery holding the bodies of 8,625 soldiers, with a mass grave including the majority of them from both the early days of the war and battles fought in the region in 1918. On November 18, 1955, a dedication took place for the Marine Memorial, featuring a black marble statue with a bronze depiction of a battling Marine crafted by the same artist, Felix de Weldon, who was responsible for creating the Marine Corps War Memorial near Washington, D.C. This unique European memorial to the U.S. Marines recognizes the courage of the 4th Marine Brigades in the June 1918 battle and was inaugurated by General Lemuel C. Shepard, Jr., who had fought there himself and received honors for his bravery. In New York City's Queens, a small patch of land commemorates Marine Private William F. Moore, who served in the 5th Regiment, while in Boston a square pays tribute to Private Thomas Henry Joyce of the same regiment, who received a Croix de Guerre with Bronze Star for extraordinary valor and was killed in action during the battle. 2 naval ships have borne the name of the Belleau Wood battle. One, a World War II-era aircraft carrier that was later used by the French Navy, and another an amphibious assault ship in service from 1977 until 2005. The motto for the 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines, echoes the famous words of Lloyd Williams, a soldier in that unit. Williams is also memorialized at Virginia Polytechnic Institute and State University, with a building named after him. Finally, in 2018, French President Emmanuel Macron gifted an oak tree sapling from Belleau Wood to the United States, symbolizing the enduring connection between the two nations, as part of his state visit.